Hi everybody, Luke Filmboss here, and today I'm going to be ranking all 9 of the MCU movies and TV shows that came out in 2021. In ninth place is Black Widow with a 45% overall score. I just really did not like Black Widow. It was lazily written, inconsistent, and was tonally a mess. In 8th place with an overall season score of 56% is Loki, a show that is just basically a giant roller coaster of highs and lows, good and bad, but mostly being pretty bad. First episode I thought was pretty good. Second and third episode bordered on mediocre to just bad. The fourth episode, I thought it was the best episode. I thought it was really good. Fifth episode bordered on mediocre. Final episode, I'm like, okay, they're setting up something here. I got really excited for the final episode. I thought they were going to reveal some huge things. Episode 6, the final episode, was awful. Easily the worst episode in the whole show. We meet the Timekeeper guy, which is essentially a not King the Conqueror, but kind of King the Conqueror variant. He's a variant of King the Conqueror. And he was such a letdown. The actor that they got to play him, I have no idea who he is. He did an awful job. I hope that they recast whoever they're going to get to play Kang. Because this guy just overacted, in my opinion. He seemed fake. Like, I never bought him as an actual character in this show. And he's a prime example of how Marvel is just completely butchering any characters that they have already or any new characters that they're adding, where they give them this overblown, cartoonish, like energetic, over-the-top personality where they're always trying to make a joke or be quirky and quippy, and it just doesn't work and really ruined this show. I'll get back to episode 6, but this show also is really not, it's kind of about Loki, but it's not about Loki. So we go in, we're like, we're gonna watch a show about Loki. It starts out as a show about Loki for about 2 episodes, the first one being good, the second one being eh. And then we're introduced to Sylvanie. Ugh. It's somewhere there. But essentially, it's a female variant of Loki. So it's technically Loki, but it's a female version of him. And then the show becomes about her, essentially. Loki gets overshadowed. This show kind of tears down everything we know about Loki from previous movies. It kind of just, he goes to see the timekeeping place, and essentially that just changes who he is entirely as a person. This is the Loki that just finished attacking New York City, and they're like, oh, he was just misunderstood, or like did it because he felt insignificant. Yeah, so what? Why are you changing this character? He already had a perfect arc in the MCU, and you're just going to rewrite his entire character just to get more views. And they got the views all right. And then not even make the show about him. It got annoying. And then the final episode, essentially Sylvanie just kills the King guy after he talks for like the entire 30-minute episode about what's going to happen if you kill him. He just explains about how the multiverse is going to split into all these different variants and everything. It's like trying to like make you excited for what's about to come in the MCU, but it's like, I really don't care about season 2. I really don't care about the whole timeline variant thing, because Loki is such a terrible show. You just ruined any excitement that I had for this. It let me down so many times. Thought I was building to something big, and you get to see, like, none of it. So Loki was pretty bad. Thank you for bearing through my rant on Loki. Now let's get to number 7, which is Marvel's The Eternals, which was originally actually at number 5. And then I thought about it, and I'm like, this is my least favorite MCU movie. It has been since I watched it, but I kind of made myself believe this is one of the best MCU movies. And the reason I thought that is because it goes for something different. The tone, the look, the characters, what it's trying to say, it all is very unique, and definitely you can see that it had an artistic, passionate director behind the film And though she did do some very good things with the movie, she also did some very bad things, mostly including the script being overcrowded to the point where the main character, which the movie focuses in as the main character, is essentially the most boring blank slate in the entire movie. She has no motivations. I forget her name in the movie. She has no motivations. She has very little background history with like a few of the members in the Eternals. Essentially, there's not much to say about her because she has nothing interesting about her. She serves a important purpose for the plot, but whereas almost every other Eternal had some inner struggle or something that made them unique besides just their powers, she had nothing. And I don't even remember what her unique power was exactly. And then you have so many other characters that I was able to keep track of them, but only a few of them got some real time to shine. I thought Sprite's character was pretty good in her arc, but then again, Sprite, there's also some pretty big like flaws in the story with her. You have characters like the Indian director Eternal guy. He doesn't even show up in the third act, which kind of, I was baffled. It's like, why even include him in the movie if he's not going to be there at the end, throughout the entire end of the movie? He just disappears. And then there's other characters that are kind of just there to die. Like, you kind of get a little bit attached to them, but it's like, you could care less. Some of them were really good, but overall, this movie is just overly crowded. Some of its themes just fall flat. And quite frankly, there were some things, as far as representation that this movie does, that just pulled me out of it. And then there were actual legitimate characters in this movie that I just didn't like. And so I was thinking, this was just a movie that I just personally, it didn't work for me, and that there were some things that just really dragged it down that don't line up with my beliefs. And then I'm like, no, this movie is just actually not as good as I thought it was. It has really good things, but it also has very many flaws in the script that even though it has some, like, visually and tonally, is one of the best MCU films. As far as the script goes, it isn't great. I'd say it's still a good movie, but not nearly as good as I originally thought it was. It's nowhere near great. I would put it at like an 82% in quality. With my 36% of enjoyment, this film I would give a 59%. What If is in 6th place with an overall score of 60% for the season. It started off interesting. It was just telling some stories, giving us some pretty fun fan service of like the what if concept. It started off good. It worked. It wasn't great. And then episode 4, like the first 3 episodes, they were good. Episode 4 with Doctor Strange was the best easily. It was really good. It did everything that this show should have been doing. Let's just say after episode 4, this movie just started declining for me significantly. The zombies episode was okay, wasn't anything special. Then we got other episodes like the Tony Stark and Killmonger episode. It wasn't awful, but it was just kind of like a half and half. Like, there's things I liked, there's things I didn't like, and it wasn't really a full fleshed out story. It was kind of just there, and it doesn't complete anything like the story that it sets up. And then the Thor episode was just bad. And then the final 2 episodes, the Ultron episode and the Multiverse Avengers thing, just didn't work for me. The Ultron episode had some good parts, but essentially it was just setting up for the completely over-bloated, terrible finale, and that kind of really brought it down. And then the finale was just awful. It brings like so many different characters from the rest of the show and just brings them together. You have annoying Thor. You have Killmonger for some reason. Apparently the Watcher thought, hey, know who would be really good to stop this multiversal threat of Ultron with the Infinity Stones? Let's get Killmonger. What? Then you got Captain Britain, which would be Peggy Carter with the super soldier serum. Okay, she's got the super soldier serum. That's better than just plain old Killmonger, who's just an ordinary guy with fighting skills. Who else you got? You got Gamora. Okay, makes sense. You've got Natasha Romanoff. She played a good part in the Ultron episode. Who else do they got? You bring in Star-Lord, Black Panther Star-Lord, I think. Yeah. Pretty much it just brings characters from throughout the show and brings them and makes them into this Avengers squad thing. It didn't work. It was crowded, had no emotion whatsoever. Some pretty dumb plot twists, and it overall, What If just disappointed. What this show, I keep calling it movie because MCU up until this point was mostly movies with the Netflix shows, of course. But What If is a show that should have just focused on telling individual stories that were somewhat emotional, developed the characters enough to make you entertained. And in some cases, I feel like they all should have just been like the Doctor Strange episode. Focused on one character, tell a unique story, rather than trying to just shoehorn all these cameos like a good guy Thanos, which was fun. But as the series went, it just got terrible. And the Ultron episode and the final Avengers episode just were over bloated, trying to do so much crazy things with this show in its first season, nonetheless, with very little build-up and very poor build-up. And it just got to the point where this show just was ruined for me. In fifth place is The Falcon and the Winter Soldier with a 64%. This show just barely missed the rating that I would say it would need to be considered good, and I just couldn't do it because this show is really not that good. It started off, in my opinion, terribly, had an average, mediocre episode, and then it had a good episode, and then it had a great episode. Then it had a mediocre episode, and then it had another terrible finale. It's kind of a pattern that these Marvel films have, or Marvel shows on Disney Plus have been doing. WandaVision, this is kind of a spoiler for that when I talk about it, but I liked the final episode, but it was, compared to the rest, it was just so bad and just mundane. And then Loki had a terrible ending, and so did Falcon and the Winter Soldier, as well as the What If show. And I don't know why. They had some good ideas and thoughts in this Falcon and the Winter Soldier show, but there's just so many things that just, like, no. Just stop trying to over-politicize and over-push these messages. It's not even, like, in some cases where I would say it's a woke message. It kind of is, but it's really not. It's just like they're trying to preach it, what this show is trying to say, and it doesn't work. Just give us an entertaining show with a message, and then show that message through your characters' actions, not just have them stand there and make a big speech telling everybody how they're doing everything wrong and somehow earning the mantle of Captain America, because I honestly don't remember what he did in the show, what Falcon did in the show to earn that mantle, but he did. And so now he's Captain America. Zemo was good in the show. Sharon Carter, I thought, was pretty good. There were some good episodes, but then it just kind of just falls flat. It was not terrible, but it was really not. It wasn't good either. In fourth place is Hawkeye with an overall season score of 82%. This is the first Marvel property in 2021 that I thought was actually good. After the terrible Loki show, really bad What If show, and the just bad Falcon the Winter Soldier, I was not excited for this film, especially since Black Widow was also really bad. And one of the worst parts of that movie was Yelena, and she was going to play a major role in this Hawkeye show. But I gave it a try, and I really liked it. Like, it wasn't anything groundbreaking, but it was solid entertainment. It was just something, this is what I would expect from a Disney Plus Marvel show. Some of them can try to do these big things, but if you're going to try and pretend to be like this big grand show, like Loki did, then follow through and not just tease what's going to come and really do nothing exciting in and of yourself. Hawkeye actually had some pretty good surprises. It's been out for a while. If you don't want spoilers, then I'd just say don't watch this video, but this show brings in the Kingpin, and some important things happen. The Kingpin actually gets taken out in this show. Like, there's a lot of good stuff here. Like I said, I had problems with Yelena, but I'd say that Yelena was actually worse here than she was in Black Widow, kind of. In terms of her character, the writing in Black Widow was just awful. Yelena was still just very... I didn't understand where Yelena was coming from in this show. Her motivations just seemed very misplaced and pretty pathetic when you look at it. But overall, this show was very good. It had some good emotions, very well thought out action in most cases. It was just also a lot of fun, and it doesn't take itself too seriously, but it also doesn't just make everything into a joke. Unless, of course, it's Yelena throughout most of the show. But even she got her emotional moment, even if it didn't work for me. In third place is WandaVision with an overall season score of 85%. This show was just very solid throughout. It had some interesting ideas in terms of the plot and like the style that the show was going to go for, where each episode is like a different year or decade of sitcoms, and that was really interesting. And then episode 8, it was the second to last episode. It was really good. Really got me to care about Wanda even more. And then episode 9 came out and was easily the worst episode of the entire show. It wasn't bad, but it was almost bad. It was almost there. It was very mediocre and kind of ruined a lot of goodwill that I had towards the show. But it wasn't bad enough that I thought, okay, it ruins everything that came before. But it kind of just makes it doesn't even try making a joke out of Wanda's situation. But it's just like some of the things that are said. It like tries to paint Wanda as like this sacrificial hero who gives up this thing that she wants in like a righteous way, when in reality she was enslaving an entire town, and they try to justify it and act like her letting them go is some great sacrifice. It's like, give me a break. This is stupid. And it looks like they're going to continue that into Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, where it's like, what's the line she says in the trailer to Doctor Strange? It's like, you tamper with the multiverse or space-time or whatever, and you're a hero, I do it, and I'm the enemy. It's like, don't, give me a break. You literally were told, oh, these people have no idea what you're sacrificing for them. Like, the show made her out to be like this hero when she really wasn't. And it's kind of stupid. And then she acts like she's been mistreated or like accused of being bad, and Doctor Strange isn't. Like, the entire premise of the Multiverse of Madness, by what we can see, is Doctor Strange paying the price, having to deal with the consequences of his actions, which were entirely for others. They were pretty stupid, as I mentioned from SpiderMan No Way Home. Like, he was a little bit out of character and kind of very idiotic. He made some dumb choices, but it wasn't for himself. He did it for Peter Parker. And so it wasn't out of a selfish desire, which for Wanda it kind of was. And he is paying the consequences. He's not seen as a hero for what he did. Nobody really knows. And the people that do know, he's kidding. He's going through the ringer in that movie. So just everything that WandaVision was like trying to do for the character of Wanda Maximoff, in the end, it just doesn't work due to a lazy, poorly written final episode that was still somewhat entertaining. In second place is ShangChi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. I already did a review on this. Not much I'm going to say. I thought it was fun, well choreographed, it looks very good. It does follow the Marvel cookie cutter formula, but it's one of those films that does it right. It's not amazing. I'd give it an 87%. It's very good. Very solid movie. Nothing incredibly special. It didn't work entirely for me, but it was still good. And in first place is SpiderMan No Way Home. This movie was just a blast. I really loved it. It's one of my favorite MCU movies. While I do acknowledge that there was some pretty major problems with the plot, especially at the beginning of the movie, some of the CGI effects looked fake. And I know that I watched this opening night. I now know that it wasn't just me being critical or just me saying, okay, that doesn't look quite right. Like, they literally released like updated cuts of the film in theaters after I watched this movie with updated, more polished and finished visual effects. And it's like, yeah, you can tell that they did not have as much time as they needed to complete this movie. And so on my first viewing and even my second viewing, it kind of shows. It was still a great movie though, and it ended spectacularly. It just had some problems that held it back, and so I give it an overall a 90. But it still was the best and my favorite Marvel content in 2021. So looking forward to 2022, Marvel has in the movie division Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. We got Thor: Love and Thunder, and we've got Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. And I didn't forget about Morbius or Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, but I'm talking about specifically MCU Marvel content, which is why Venom: Let There Be Carnage was not on this list. Has nothing to do with the fact that I didn't really watch the film. I did watch most of it, but I wasn't really paying too much attention. It was kind of in the background with some friends watching it, so I didn't really watch Venom. So I didn't feel right ranking it on this list because I didn't really get the full experience, and so that's why it's not on this list. But as far as MCU content goes, I'm excited for Doctor Strange. Thor: Love and Thunder, I think Taika Waititi has this under control, but some of the things I've heard about it, I'm not super excited. And then we got a new Black Panther film, which the plot sounds really interesting, but we don't have Chadwick Boseman. I'm not sure how it's going to turn out. And then on the show division, we have Moon Knight. That looks really good, actually. Looks very much out of the normal for Marvel, and so that's automatically going to get me to check it out. I just hope it doesn't end up like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, and What If. Loki and What If, I was super excited for both of those shows, and then they just really disappointed me. Hope Moon Knight doesn't do that. Then we have She-Hulk. I'm not sure when that's coming out. It's Marvel. I'll watch it. Same with like Hawkeye. I wasn't super interested, but I watched it. It was okay. It was good. Miss Marvel. The trailer came out for that. Was boring and uninteresting as they come. Marvel is trying to make like these relatable characters, like this teenage girl who wants to be a superhero becoming a superhero. Wow, it's such an interesting story. She has no... Okay, maybe the show will be good, but the trailer gave us nothing. Essentially, it's about this average high school girl who really doesn't seem to have much problems, who just wants to be a superhero, which in essence, by what we've seen in the trailer, is just because she wants to become more popular, essentially. She thinks it would be cool. She fantasizes about being a superhero. It's not very interesting. Mrs. Marvel honestly looks absolutely awful. It kind of degrades what the point of these superheroes are. It's to be an inspiration, not to just be your everyday, ordinary person. What makes Spider-Man interesting as a high school character? It's he's entirely selfless. He's always looking to do the right thing. Watch Spider-Man 2. That is an amazing film that completely captures the essence of why superheroes are so interesting and captivating and emotional and just get people excited. That's not what we're getting out of Miss Marvel if the trailer is anything to go by. It's pretty much downgrading her to a quirky teenager who just wants to be a superhero. Oh, she's so excited. I'm not interested. Secret Invasion, I'm not sure when that's coming out. It sounds interesting. I Am Groot. I really don't know what it's going to be too much about. I guess it's just Groot talking about stuff. I'm kind of interested. I just love the Guardians of the Galaxy, and Groot is just great. I don't know if it's going to be Baby Groot or what, but I'll watch it. And then, I don't know when this is coming, but we got a Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special coming up. Sign me up! But that's going to do it for this video. It was pretty long, but this is for the diehard fans. Thank you all for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell to help you be on the lookout for more videos from Luke Film Boss, and I'll see you all later.